Hi, everyone. I'm Becky Farrell, Research Lead and Programming Consultant for Dance Data Project. Our series, Moving Forces, Motherhood and Dance, is composed of rapid-fire conversations with mothers in varying roles in the dance field. Today, I am so excited to be joined by the incredible Endalyn T. Outlaw, dancer, choreographer, educator, and Dean of the School of Dance at UNCSA. Endalyn, welcome!
Thank you so much, Becky. It's so good to be with you today. Is it okay if I call you Becky? I hope
Yes,
that's all right.
absolutely. Yes, absolutely. Oh, I'm so excited about this conversation. So let's just jump right in. So, at what point in your career did you become a mother?
Well, I joined Dance Theatre of Harlem in 1984, and I was in my teens at that point. I had my first child in 1991, so I had been there a number of years, but I was really kind of right at the peak of performing and doing principal roles. So it was an interesting time and an interesting choice, particularly as a ballerina, where there are so many women who are competing for roles. And so to take that chance of stepping away from it to have a child and focus on my family, it definitely was something that maybe would have been considered risky at that time, but well worth it.
And what barriers did you encounter then, like during that time period? Because the field is so competitive and continues to be so. So were there any like roadblocks in your way?
Yeah, well, first I was really lucky because Dance Theatre of Harlem was really operated like a family for me and my ex-husband, who was also a dancer. My son, from the moment he was born, was welcomed in the studio and even on tour with us.
Yeah.
And the company, it was more like a bunch of aunts and uncles. And
Oh,
when one of us was on stage, they would watch him.
oh,
The costume designers and people who worked in the costume department, they would watch him. So for much of his life and on tour with us, we didn't need to have babysitters. And when we did, my family stepped in and they were a support system. I would pay for them to go on tour and they would watch him while we were in rehearsal and class and performances. So I would say the barrier really for us was more financial.
mm,
We did not have maternity or family leave.
right.
So when I was out and, preparing to come back, I was on unemployment during that
Mm,
time, which is significantly less than,
right.
what I was actually
What
making.
is- Yeah.
Um, so that was a barrier, but we did have health insurance,
Mm,
and I think more than anything, the financial challenge of even bringing him on tour once he was at an age where he was no longer a lap child, or
right.
paying for someone else to come on tour and watch him.
Yeah. So it sounds like the family, your family and DTH family were really a great support system. But were there like actual resources that you were able to tap into or that you needed, that you wanted during that early time?
During that time, no, there really
Yeah.
wasn't, and if there were, I think because of the fact that my situation was unique in that um, there was so much permissiveness for my son to be a part of everything. I
Mm,
didn't really need to look for those.
right.
I didn't investigate whether there would have been support in terms of financial to take him on tour and pay
Mm,
for some of those costs. We
yeah.
just made that work because we wanted to be together as a family, and I wanted to continue to dance. I didn't want to have to give up my career.
You didn't have to feel like you had to make like this very like epic choice. You were able
That's
to,
right, one or
yeah,
the other. I was able to
right.
be both and.
That's amazing. That's amazing. So we really encourage, and support, we want supportive partners here in the field, especially to support our mothers. So particularly those that are male identifying, how can we encourage them to play an equal role in parenting? I know this is like a tough question because so much really depends on the mother, right? There's so much that especially babies
Right,
need. And we heard that in other interviews we've done that even, male counterparts, they can only do so much,
right.
especially in early years. But are there ways that we can encourage them, or any helpful suggestions to maybe equalize the parenting for both parents?
Yeah, I mean, I think to your point that so much really depends on the mother. I think
Yeah.
also so much really depends on the partner, whether it's a male identifying or a female
Yeah.
identifying, and understanding that just as changes have been put into place where family leave is now a thing, and the acknowledgement that the partner other than the one who actually gave birth needs time to bond, and also needs time to contribute to the raising and the developing of this
Yeah.
family and this new dynamic. So I think that should kind of be a guide for partners, in that, there's acknowledgement that you need these things.
Right.
Step into those roles and
Yeah.
be a support, and also take advantage of the opportunity to fall in love with your child in much the same way. It's many of those challenging hours when you
Hmm.
don't get any sleep,
Yeah.
that you really learn and realize what love is,
Oh, yes. Yes.
because you do it and you do it and you keep doing it. And I think that's something that as partners you both need to learn and understand,
Mhm.
and then you appreciate what the other is going through. And also, so, what I found helpful, because my ex-husband was also a dancer, was for me coming back from having a baby,
Mm.
getting my body and my physical and my
Yeah.
mental health together. He was quite supportive in that he watched what he ate. We worked out together. We did certain things
Yeah.
as a team. So
Mm.
I think that you can share and celebrate the sharing, as opposed to looking at it as a burden, is helpful.
Yeah. A real collaboration, right? In
Yes,
that
truly.
way. Love that. Love that. So, are there any additional ways, if we're thinking about dance companies or even venues, or even, some of our dance service organizations we have around the United States? Like, what are some things we can do to advocate and support dance moms now? And we know things that are changing in the field, but are
Right.
there ways that we can make sure that mothers in dance are feeling supportive as they're going through their professional careers?
Yeah, no, I think it's wonderful that things are changing, that institutions are putting in place, lactation rooms, and building spaces actually where children can go, or, where the daycare and their care for can actually take place in the same space that the mother or the parents are. Um, I just think these conversations are helpful,
Yeah.
highlighting that this is happening, but how can we make it more of a universal thing, where it's not just some places and it's not happening in others. So I don't know if it becomes something that really can be almost policy, that this is something that can take place in any company that is union, or those that aren't. It's challenging because dance companies look like so many different things.
Right.
So it's hard to make universal policies, but at least an awareness and the agency of the parent to be able to speak up and request certain things, and for there to at least be an openness for these things to happen.
And that's why we love the series itself, right? To have these
Right.
conversations and hear from just incredible mothers in the field, and to hear your recommendations. So
Right.
thanks so much, Endalyn. This has been so wonderful to chat with you. And thank you to
Can I
everyone
say
watching.
one more thing if
Yeah,
we have time? A
of course.
recommendation for a mother or
Yeah,
an organization is,
yeah.
during pregnancy, it's an excellent time to find other skill sets. Maybe ask if you can be a part of your company's administration. Maybe there's some kind of training and development
Mm,
that you can lean into while you are coming back and into performance, so that when there is the next plan A that needs to happen, you
right.
started to build some skill sets.
Wow. Thanks, Endalyn. I appreciate that recommendation. We always want more recommendations for our mothers, for our venues, for our organizations, and DDP is so happy to keep these conversations going. So thank you so much.